Minutes of doing this. Hey everyone, Andy All here with Jesse Bear. Yeah, so the daycare is closed down for a
because they
week.
are short-staffed for the
Now
whole week that
that's
my
right.
youngest child goes to. So I can't work.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know how people in your situation can get by. To tell you the truth, it's my heart goes out to you. Um,
I am lucky enough that we are a two-person income household
mm,
and that um, we can cover the necessities with just my husband's income.
that's good. Yeah,
So my income, just as inconsistent as it is, adds a little more security and a
yeah,
little bit of play money, like to do things with the tiny humans. Like, oh,
right.
we can just go get ice cream because mom has an extra, $100 and it's not going to kill us to do that. So we understand how fortunate we are.
Yeah,
But this staffing shortage that is literally affecting every single industry, because I see the help wanted signs everywhere. Um,
oh yeah,
it's I fear for the people that are not as lucky as me, which is the majority of people, because like I work in a kitchen, I can't work from home.
yes,
And there are a lot of other people that are in the same situation. And if anyone has kids of any age, because even, they're not near me, but I've, seen reports of other high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, the classroom has to shut down because they had a COVID case, or they have so many, the building has to shut down.
hmm hmm
So, and then obviously the daycares, it's happening everywhere. And daycares, by law, they have ratios. And I don't know if it's state by state or if it's federal, but I know there are laws. If they don't have X amount of teachers per X amount of age group, that
yeah,
place can get shut down. So
yeah,
I obviously want my kid to have the best care, but it's also frustrating because the teachers can't work this week. The ones that are there, they're not getting paid. I'm not getting paid. This is just, I don't see this going well for our economy
yeah,
long term.
yeah, yeah. Um, once again, it's a tale of two economies, isn't it? It's the people who do work at home and everyone else, right? I mean, the most, I work from home when I do like maybe 7 hours a week, but that's only through Only Sky and doing the blogging and being well, actually, when I consider this space, I'm doing at least, yeah, it's a full-time job, right? But that
Full
doesn't
time
bring in a
job
lot.
with part time income.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I am in my job out there, I have to physically be there. There's none of this working from home for the job that actually pays me real wages. What's up, Tobin?
Good morning.
Wow,
Hello.
good. How you doing, man?
Hanging in there?
Yeah, yeah. And just going to what Jesse is saying is that I don't think we're going to know the real cost of the pandemic until people really start looking through the rubble. Until people start looking through the rubble and seeing how it's affected lives. Yeah. So
Morning,
how?
Jesse.
Good morning. I was complaining because the daycare is closed, so I cannot work this week because they are
Oh,
short staffed.
I think there should be a specific word. What's up, John Hudson? There should be a specific
John.
word for people who complain, but for a good reason, or who complain, but for, it's like, oh, it's late stage capitalism screwing me, kind of reason. Or there should be, because complaining, I don't think does that justice. That's what I think. Like I can complain about, I don't know, my favorite TV show being canceled, but it's in a different category than what you're talking about, Jesse Bear.
I think maybe a better word is I'm frustrated by the situation because I can't be upset with the actual center because they are doing the safest thing for my child. I am
Right.
not upset with the teachers because they cannot control that their coworkers found better paying jobs, because
Right.
I've talked to other people I know that work in similar situations, and they're making anywhere between minimum wage, which I
Mhm.
think for my state is maybe $7.50 to $12, and they're taking care of 6-week to 12-year-old children
Yeah.
full time. So
Yeah.
8 hours a day, more if someone else calls out last minute and they have to be in
Sure.
ratio.
Yep. Jesse, I could tell you. I mean, I could tell you all stories. At my job just before the job I took here, I was doing home health care. I was maybe getting paid around $16 an hour, a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. I forget. And I was doing all kinds of work, working in people who were hoarders, working in their homes, doing the heavy, doing the work, and then the job that I have now, which is, doing some minor work in a lab and driving around doing courier work, just pays me more. It pays me more with maybe um, like 100 times less stress, not 100 times, but many times. I'm just less stressed than doing the home healthcare stuff. Yeah. And more money too. I mean, it's a horrible series of choices you have to make, because home healthcare work, working with kids, it is so needed to be done, but society or the government or the 1% just, they don't treat it like a real job. That's what it is. They don't treat it like a real job.
And many of the people that work at like good daycares, not like a not that at-home daycares can't be good, it's just they're not as heavily regulated, so I don't trust them as much
Yeah.
personally with my children. But like a lot of these people have an associate's degree in early childhood education. Some of them have a bachelor's degree. A couple of these people
Yeah.
have master's degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're not even making the regular teachers are, sorry, get a little upset. I get so angry about how underpaid like public school teachers are. And then when you go to a daycare or a child care facility of some nature, they're paid even less, and they are
Yeah.
doing just as important of a job, because if they are not there to help take care of these kids, what's going to happen to them socioeconomically
Oh
long
yeah.
term if their
Yeah.
parents both cannot earn income? And
Mhm.
then if they're not being taken care of by qualified providers, they could get hurt, they could get abused, they could get
Sure.
neglected. And I just think they are woefully underpaid. But I'll
Yeah.
stop ranting. Hi, John.
No,
Good morning.
yeah, this is a safe space for ranting, especially for ranting.
I just got because I'm so out of touch with things. What does a daycare cost anymore to say a child under 5? 'Cause
Well, it depends on the age, because they change the price. So like an infant, so a child under 6 months old can't sit up, is anywhere from 500 to 350 a week, depending on what daycare you go to and where you live.
fuck.
It slowly goes down the older they get. So like a elementary school child that's getting just after school care, where the facility will actually pick them up from the school with like their own bus, like a short bus.
Mhm.
That's probably anywhere between $80 to $150 a week. My youngest child is 3. I think I want to say we pay just under 200 a week
Wow.
for full time, so 9 to 5.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the
And
daycare
meals.
costs more than what a person would make at minimum wage in a 40-hour week.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Whoa.
That's why I did not work. From
That's one of the
when
reasons
after I got pregnant with when I got pregnant with my youngest child, I did not work until this past October is when I started working, because the cost was finally low enough that it would make sense for me to work. So I kind of just cover daycare, and I have maybe an extra $50 to $100 if I work the whole time in my pay period for fun money. but it's mostly just for me to get out of the house and have some adult time. To be completely honest, it's not really
No, I get that one.
helping us financially.
Yeah. Well, I want to say that actually being sane helps you and the economy at the same time, right? I mean, having not having people who are stressed out, being functional adults, that's beneficial. You may not be able to see it directly, but there are secondary benefits to having people not stressed out all the time. There's health benefits, all types of benefits.
Yeah, and I've never been a stay-at-home mom like on Pinterest as far as like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. I love my children. I would die for my children. I would do anything for them. But I personally am very outgoing and I love to be around people and I am a complete extrovert. So being at home, especially once all of the panorama restrictions started, was really, really hard for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I know other people have thrived because they are very introverted and they're like, I just get to be around the people I like.
Well, the thing is, there's in terms of age groups, right? I mean, there are certain age groups that the pandemic hasn't hit that hard. And once again, just saying for myself, I am just lucky that my kids are older and that they're both in high school. And if they were younger, then it would have been I would have had a much different experience. That's what it would have been much more difficult for me.
Yeah, there were, honestly, when everything was shut, including the schools, there were days where I would just tell my kids they didn't have to go to school because I knew if I turned on that laptop, I would end up in tears because I had two kids in early elementary school. One was in kindergarten and a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously my kindergartner cannot read the instructions, cannot read what they're supposed to do, cannot type in their answer.
Yep.
So I had to be physically next to, with, and hands-on helping that child at all times. And then my other child was still very young, elementary, was not the best reader and has fine motor skill delay, so they cannot type. So I had to type for them. So it was a shit show. Then trying to keep the toddler from closing the laptop or slamming on the keys. Yeah. Hard stuff.
I have to tell you that once I figured out how to type, because I have muscle issues, right? My hand cramps up pretty fast when I have to write, and going to school was a freaking torture for me, having to write out reports or just take down notes. And my son also has it because he has it, and he has my problems, but they are actually they're not, they're worse. They affect him a lot more. Genetics, right? So it's I know that when I figured out how to type, that just made my life so much easier. But everyone's
and that child obviously is older now, and we in there I'm sure you know what an IEP is with your son having issues like that. So in there,
for those of you who don't know, it's an independent education program.
And they are wonderful. They are not a thing to be ashamed of or to look down upon. There are lots of kids that, for any multiple reasons, might need help in school in one way or another. It doesn't mean that they are not bright or have a future in any way, shape, or form, regardless of what level of ability they have compared to your quote-unquote typical child.
Schools will not. There are some schools that will not volunteer. They will know that your child has issues, but they will not volunteer to put them on an IEP either. And that is a hard lesson that I had to effing learn. There are some schools, there are some, professionals out there, and I'm not dumping on the profession at all, but there's some schools, probably because lack of funding, right? Or whatever reasons, they will not suggest your kid gets an IEP until they go to another school, or until the problem becomes really, really in your face. And that's what I found with my kid.
well, even 50 years ago when I was in elementary school, I was a straight A student, but I never was able to get an S in satisfactory, even in citizenship.
Hmm.
I'd get done with my shit and I'd disrupt the class, but it was pretty progressive school. And what they did with me is as soon as I was done with my work, they got me out of the classroom. Jess.
I don't know. I think that's
Anyhow, they'd get me out of the classroom, send me down to help remediate students with their reading skills, math, and such. Also, put me in the library to file books and such. It worked. It worked. I think I'm fortunate for the elementary I went to. They had a gymnasium and two multi-purpose rooms. It was the biggest elementary school at the time, this side of or west of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
And it really, one of the good school district I grew up in,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then through junior high, they, same thing. They have me go to the office and help the office people. And it just worked for me. I got into high school 2 weeks and I dropped out because I had started a business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for some people, it's definitely, let's face it, sitting down for, 45 minutes at a time and doing schoolwork. That is not a model for everybody.
Well, if you're done in 10 minutes,
Yeah.
sit with your head on the desk. That was just fucking asking for trouble,
Yellow card for the F word. Yellow card for the F word.
I've watched a lot of YouTube and I've been, I think Rage is wrong. I hear a lot of people dropping F-bombs everywhere, but we should try to keep it more civilized.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Well, and you bring up an interesting point, John, is like you okay, honey? Sorry, small human. But people of your age group could just drop out of school and go have a successful life and make money versus, I'm a millennial, I'm in my 30s. That's not an option for anyone after a certain time period. Because if you don't have a high school diploma, sometimes a Walmart won't hire you to stock shelves. So it's not an option anymore. And I feel like that's one of the bigger reasons advocates have pushed to get things like IEP and 504s to happen, because it's not an option. I know I have family that's around your age, John, and they did just drop out of high school.
Yep.
And, they're still making good money because they're grandfathered in to whatever their profession is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was even able to go to college without a high school diploma. I just told them I was a graduate, and they never checked into it. And I studied psychology, and I got my paralegal degree, and worked in a law firm for about 2 weeks. Decided I didn't want to deal with other people's problems. I had enough of my own, and but having the legal knowledge, helped me through everyday life. And back then too, I think I was totally into it about $12,000 when it was all said and done.
So I'm working on this bit for Only Sky, and I'm only saying this because it has something relevant to what we're talking about here. Is that it's called the 9 layers of late stage capitalism hell. I haven't really worked out the whole, because there's like the 9 rings of hell in Dante's Inferno, and these conversations that different generations have about what it was like back in the 70s or the 60s, and then what it's like now. It must drive younger people crazy, and that's what the bit's going to be about. About the conversations that we have with each other, and from of course the younger person's point of view about how crazy it sounds.
Okay, but the $12,000 I was into student loans. My first house was $38,000, right. So it was about a third of what it is. So I guess, for example, now the average price of a house around here, anyways, you can't get into anything for under $500,000. So the same, but the wage just ain't the same. Hell, I was making $25 30 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, that was good money. That was good money 30 years ago, or that was okay money at least.
It was well, that was just on average what I would charge on my construction stuff. For the real estate gig, some of them, I was making a 3% commission.
Sure.
Go out and sell $100,000 house, and
Yeah.
where I'm the buyer's agent, and took them into one house. That was the house. Boom, boom, boom. I'm making $1,500 an hour.
So in a lot of this, just like with everything, I think, is that it's who you know. Like a buddy of mine in high school, he dropped out of high school, and then his dad worked in construction, and so my buddy got a job in construction. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was just because his dad was in it, and he actually had a metal shop, to tell you the truth, and so that's what set him up. But if you're just an everyday guy, if you're just an everyday person, and you don't have a college education, now you're in trouble.
Well, one of the things is my older sister, married into a lot of money. I mean, they're billionaires. And
I'm like that, except for the opposite.
I can drop. I think it was Judy Shelton. Trump wanted her the head of the Federal Reserve. That's my sister-in-law's mother-in-law.
Oh.
I mean, my sister's mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a little bit of money, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up. Both the parents worked. Mom was in the Air Force and then civil service up at Hillfield. But they always taught us, work hard, get educated, and such. And got a sister who owns an engineering firm. And
I'll say this is that used to be the case, that you could work hard, and if on the average, if you worked hard, you would do okay. Those days, I don't think that those, because if it was just, I mean, in today's world, if working hard was the main metric of achieving success, then there'd be a lot more people who are able to feed themselves and put a roof over their heads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Nick just he was, he went to school and such, college, such. He never really used any of it. Was working as a mechanic. Phoenix applied him for an apprentice for electrical. He got his journeyman's this last summer,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was going to take off a couple months with the newborn and just collect unemployment because they had a voluntary layoff. And he's like, pick me. And he was beating himself up. And he's like, I don't know about this electrical stuff. I'm like, well, you want to take the time off and such? He goes, well, there's no work through the union. But, last month he got a call from one of the companies where they're doing all the electrical virtually. They're doing layouts and such.
Layouts, right? Because you can't run wire at home.
but they can save a lot of cost by doing it virtually.
Sure.
And the way they're doing this. But anyhow, he's sitting behind a desk with a computer now, making $7 more an hour.
Okay.
Like $38 an hour he's making. And this.
I think John Hudson got Texas. The Texas internet got John Hudson. I will say this about what I think, what I've observed about the college and university, is that the first 2 years, at least in a liberal arts school, you go through the mandatory classes, right? Your history, your English, science, whatever. And tell me if I'm wrong, everyone, but all that stuff is to make you a good citizen, basically. Because even though you may not, like, for an example, I'm not working in the field that I graduated from. I have a BS in psychology, but I would say that my ability to function as a citizen is greatly enhanced because I took those classes. I took the history, I took the English, I took the math, the sociology, and all of that. Those classes, they should just be in high school, because what the F is the purpose of doing high school if it isn't to make you a good citizen, right? And you can see the gaggle of idiots walking around in this country because they just have never gotten the toolkit. They never got the toolkit.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Your prerequisites are just, stuff that anybody should know, understand, and deal with daily.
Yeah.
Where I failed more than anything was in English language. Uh, uh, and then after having a stroke, don't have that as well as I used to,
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jesse?
Well, I was just going to say, I believe I might be the person that was most recently in high school here.
Yes.
No offense to anyone, just most recent experience.
Right.
I don't know how it was for everybody else, but my high school had levels of classes. We had basic classes, which is the lowest quote unquote speed level, and you get to the least advanced material by senior year. It's just, I want to get out of here and have a high school diploma. You have
Yeah.
college prep, which is just enough to get you into college. Honors, which is for the kids that can deal with a little bit more work, a little bit more fast paced, and then AP for the kids that have a gifted on there. And those are very small classes. So for the most part, my experience was high school was to prepare us for college. That was it. And we were told, get a degree and you'll be okay financially. Except I'm in my 30s.
Yes.
What happened right after I graduated? The friggin'
Went to hell.
recession.
Yeah.
Everything went to hell. I dropped out of college after my first year and a half of class because I was looking around and thinking, I'm trying to be an art teacher. That ain't going to work. Art teachers are getting laid off left and right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be unemployed the majority of my early adult life. And I went into a trade.
Yeah.
And I became a hairstylist.
Yeah.
Because that was the easiest way, from my perspective, to quickly get certified in something that I also had an interest with, that aligned with what I was already going to school with, because color theory is color theory, and start making money.
I like that.
My
I see what you did there.
friends,
That's good. I like that. That's smart.
You're
the
a
majority of my
hairstylist.
friends,
Can you help me
I
with
have
this
not.
thing?
I haven't been working in that field because COVID, scary. I don't want to be around a bunch of strangers all the time.
Got it.
That are not masked. For the last few years, but I still hold my license. I'm waiting for things to get better and for my kids to get a little bit older that I won't feel like I'm missing out. But regardless, my friends that stayed finished their bachelor's degree. I know 2 out of probably 30 people that actually got jobs in their initial bachelor's degree program. Everybody else either went back to school at some point and changed careers because the career they got a bachelor's degree in when we all graduated, when everything was good, there are no jobs anymore.
Yeah.
Or they ended up doing a trade because there was nothing available. The problem with trades is often the hours suck.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to have a work-life balance. So
But
we felt like we were lied to our whole lives. Like, if you get an education, you'll be fine. No, I know people that just moved out of their parents' basements.
Sure.
the trades can be good though in construction and such, but the construction does beat up your body. There are free apprenticeships that are offered, and but and you can move your way up. It doesn't always have to be hard. I always swung a hammer, but I made the money because I ran the thing and I ran the thing. And now I've paid the price. My body's beat to shit.
I'm, in my early 30s, I had to have my shoulder put back together because years of sports plus being a hairstylist and holding a heavy blow dryer and up and down repetitive movements, and I have carpal tunnel, and that's the big downside to a trade job. I think they're amazing. My dad worked construction. He always has. He makes amazing money. But he's about to retire, and he's had, what's it called, his meniscus, I think, in his knee.
Oh yeah.
Had to get that. He's had to get that fixed, and he's gonna have, as soon as he retires, he has a plan. He's like, all in one shot, I'm gonna get my carpal tunnel surgery. He's got to get both shoulders fixed. He has
Rotator
a
cuffs.
labrum. He's got a rotator cuff tear and a labrum tear, which is what I had, which is the top of the shoulder is
Yep.
torn. And both his knees, I'm going to say that word wrong. I just said it. But both of them
Meniscus?
need to be,
Meniscus.
both of those need to be fixed again. So he's like, I'm just going to ride it out for the next 2 years until I retire. And then I'm just going to, in 1 year, just boom, 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 get all my surgeries done.
Well,
Yeah,
it's an interesting question, right? About when you do, because I was having a similar conversation with a coworker of mine who just turned 30, who is turning 30, and he's like, if I don't get this particular surgery done now, the older I get, the more difficult it is for your body to bounce back after the surgery.
absolutely.
And so, and I think, going further into the topic is that, there should just be a different retirement age for people who are in the trades, right? There's no reason why people in the trade should have the same retirement age as someone who's a desk jockey, to tell you the truth, right? If you're blowing out your body, then
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't have to retire at freaking 70. Right?
I've had 7 knee surgeries, complete with the ACL transplant, meniscus debridement. Both my rotator cuffs have been repaired. That's a tough one to come back from, by the way.
Yeah.
But at 30, my first meniscus surgery, I bounced back after that fast. The last one in my mid 50s, I haven't bounced back.
Right. And it's important to point out that here in the States, I'm going to say the statistic again, is that 66.5% of bankruptcies in the States because of medical bills. So
I would say it's greater than that.
Last time I saw it was 66.5 or so % of bankruptcies because of medical bills. That's the last number I saw.
What's the other one? People get busted.
Yeah.
It picks up the other 34%.
What are you going to say, Jesse?
And I was going to say, and on top of that, it's not only just the fact that people have medical bills, but if you do work a non-corporate job like a trade or something, I know for myself, I've been working, with the salon I was at for not quite 2 years when I had to have my shoulder surgery. And for me at that point, it was a non-option. I could not move my shoulder. The muscles around it were all tensed up and it froze. So it was either I get this done or I don't work again and I can't use my shoulder. So it was a necessity. I did not get paid during my 6-month recovery period because of my job type. I could not go back to work for 6 months. And then when I did, I had to start out very slow. And for 3 months, I had to work 1 day a week and then 2. And then a couple months later, I could work 3. And it took me about a year to get back up to my normal work schedule of 6 days a week working. So how many people, you have the medical bill, then you can't work if you're not working a corporate job and they don't give you time off. And even corporate jobs, how much time off are you going to get? Yeah. And you have to use FMLA to just make sure you have a job to go back to.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And there's no guarantee. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to take care of my light situation here. The sun just came out, as you can probably tell. I look even more Caucasian than I usually do. I'll be right back.
Well, yeah, I think that it falls under a workman's compensation fund there if it's happens on the job. I mean, and just I do a lot of clip art where I steal things and make collages, other people's art, and just operating a pair of scissors for, you think a hairstylist is a cushy job, that it can't be that hard, but shit, using a pair of scissors all day long, what it does to your hands. My gosh.
Well, and the chemicals you're handling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the chemicals.
I've over time developed, I forget the exact term for it. I don't have enough caffeine, but there's a type of contact dermatitis you develop after being exposed to something consistently. I know nurses can get it with latex. Yeah. I started to develop that to hair bleach, perms, certain brands of hair color with certain ingredients. So, we wear gloves, but when you're washing somebody out, you don't normally wear them.
Yeah.
So my job became more annoying because I had to be more careful of my skin and carry around, cortisone cream and all this stuff. And then hairstylists, we can get something called a hair splinter in our hands or stuck in any other part of our skin.
Do you want to
Which
talk
can
about
get
that? Because
infected.
I have no idea what a hair splinter is. This is the first time I've ever heard of it. What is that?
Me
It,
too.
it's literally a splinter that is a human hair. So the human hair, because of the way we cut hair, especially if you're using a pair of clippers, like majority men's cuts, which I enjoy doing. They're fun. They're technical, which I enjoy, but the hairs are short, and especially if the hair is thick or coarse and it's on your skin, and if your skin is wet, this encourages it. It'll dig into your skin.
Whoa.
So
That is the trick.
Whoa.
they're, and another thing is, like, you know, at the end of the day, you can shake out your shirt and there's little tiny bits of hair. I had work clothes that I couldn't wear outside of work because no matter how much you wash them, the hair is stuck into the fiber of the fabric. But
It's
hair is
woven.
disgusting. Every, you know, human person has their microbiome inside and out is on the hair and everything else that touches the hair. So I've had hair splinters in fingers. You don't feel them going in, but then, you know, the next morning you wake up and it's like, oh, great, now I have to go get this drained out of my finger so I can go to work
Wow.
because I have this giant infection.
Oh man.
Wow, Jesse Bear, you just blew. I have so much to talk about with my hairstylist the next time I get my hair cut.
And
Oh,
not
man.
everybody gets them to that degree. I think maybe I'm more prone to them, but, you know, most of the women I've worked with, just because it is a female dominated career, we keep tweezers somewhere on our person to pull a hair out if you see one, because you don't want it to get infected.
No.
That's another reason why hairstylists aren't supposed to wear open toe shoes, because you don't want them in the bottom of your feet.
Wow.
So my mind is blown. It really is. My mind is blown. Thank you for sharing those horrible, horrific things that can happen to you and have happened to you. Hair
So,
splinters.
I mean, the hair splinters that got infected, I think I've only had 2 in the 10 years. But, you know, it's still something you have to be wary of.
I think one is too many.
Well,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
that's one of the added reasons why I don't want to work right now in my quote unquote profession, because my big fear is, if I'm wearing a mask, am I going to get a hair splinter in my face? Like, aside from actually getting COVID, am I going to get a hair splinter in my face? That sounds horrible.
Well, one of the things I found I've become allergic to is paint. Painting the house last summer, it's like I'd get paint on my arms and I would just get this big, like, rash everywhere, you know, and it would take literally weeks for it to go away.
I thought you were going to say I'm allergic to pain, and I'm like, I have that allergy too, John Hudson.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. It's way of life.
I'm only okay with the emotional pain. The physical pain is when I start drawing the line. You know, it's like, I don't know if I can deal with
See, I
that.
can't do the emotional pain.
See, we could arrange a system. We could arrange a system, a transferal of pains. That's what we could do.
They could call you. They can call you names. They can punch me in the head.
Oh, yeah. Come on, that's nothing.
I'm sorry if that grossed you out, Andy.
I'm
Well, you know what
freaking
it
on that
is, Jesse?
chest.
I've never heard of that.
I am so curious about things. So even about the stuff like that, I am like, wow, that is, I'm just curious about that. And like I said, I mean, I've always tipped the person cutting my hair well, but now I feel
better now.
I think I should tip them a little bit more.
Well, most people that stay in it love what they do, so
Yeah.
we don't think about these things as like the biggest part of our job. At least, like, most of the people I've worked with, they're extroverts. They love people. They love making people feel better. They love art in some way, shape, or form if they do color or even cuts, because those can be really interesting depending on what the person wants. There's a lot of math and chemistry involved in just getting your license, and also understanding. We have to take like an anatomy course in cosmetology school.
I had no idea, like all about the muscles in the face and the things
in the face, possible infections or illnesses of the skin, the scalp, the nails, muscle structure throughout the head and the hands, because at least in my state, the license covers hair, skin, and nails. So I know how to do like acrylics and stuff like that. So, but you have to understand the chemistry of how the chemicals you're using on the hair work, like peptide bonds versus acid bonds, and how different chemicals affect those bonds within the hair.
I had no idea.
It's a lot of science, which is why people were a little confused that I liked it, because I love science, and it's like, no, but it actually is. It's not just the dumb hairdresser. We actually have to know stuff.
Sure. Well, you know, I'll say something about what you mentioned about not really thinking about the dangers of the job that you're doing. When I was working, you know, in human services, whenever I was looking for a new job, I would always joke around with my friends who are also working in the field. It's like, my first goal is not to get hurt. The questions are, will I get hurt? Can I get hurt? Will I get hurt? Those are the three questions I would always ask myself when applying for a job, because there are some jobs that are just much more physically demanding. I think that's a nice way of putting it, and more of a danger to yourself.
My big goal whenever I would go into work was, I want everyone that sits in my chair to leave happy.
Oh yeah,
and to feel good about themselves. That was always mine and most of my coworkers' goals. There's always a couple people that are like, hey, they all better tip me good, or, you know, there's always those people somewhere, but I definitely understand that. Am I going to get hurt? Because I have family that are special education teachers, and sometimes they'll think about that very hard and long before taking a position, depending on what's going on.
D Parks writes, OMG, this is so American. I'm at work, of course, and a guy who wants a quote for his business, which is a gun store that is between a church and a funeral home. Fascinating.
It'd be slightly more American if there was also a sex shop on that street.
Right.
And a liquor store.
Yeah, this is true. Good point, Jesse Bear. I was watching Car Talk, or listening, because Car Talk used to be this NPR show. These two guys in Cambridge had a car shop, and so they had the regular mechanic shop, but they also had a do-it-yourself shop where, you know, you could come in and work on your own car. You could they would, you know, rent you a lift or give, you know, loan you tools to work on your car. And so this first time guy walks in and starts talking to one of the mechanics, one of the owners. And the mechanic goes to him, all right, so it's your first time here. You may think that your main task is to fix your car, but it is not. You actually have 3 jobs right now. 1 is not to get hurt. 2 is not to make the situation worse, i.e. break more stuff in your car. And 3, and only after you do the first 2, is to fix the car. And I heard that and I said, that is great advice for everything, right? Don't get hurt. Don't make the situation worse. And then achieve the thing you need to achieve. That I have held that near and dear to my heart.
That's a good step, a good stage, a good process to consider.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Because I don't want to get hurt. I guess that's this is how I respond to anxiety about getting hurt. Is trying to make a joke out of it.
I think my not thinking so much of, oh, will I get hurt, is I'm so stinking accident prone. I assume I will get hurt mildly at most things in my life.
Yeah. I hear you. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna do some channel business. I'm gonna close out a bit early today. I know I usually run these open rooms for an hour or a little bit under. I'm thinking about shortening it just because, as you may have noticed, I've been really busy lately. I did an 11. Now, this isn't normal. I have a part-time job, but sometimes because people get sick or people take vacation, hours expand. And so I had an 11-hour day yesterday, which I could normally do without, but it's a physical job. There's a lot of moving around, and it just blew, made me go a little crazy. And I'm not blogging as much as I should be. I'm I'm not doing as much of my stuff on Only Sky, and so I'm probably going to be, making this maybe 40. I don't know, dudes. I mean, it's
Just take care of yourself.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to struggle with the workload. So I think I'm going to close it up early today, like maybe 45 minutes, so I can get some more work done before I go into work. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll probably be doing that going forward too. So especially since I'm doing that interview with Dr. Josh at the end of the month, and then I'm doing which I have to read the book for and do all this other work. So I have to be more strategic about how I use my time.
Well, let's shut it down right now so you can get a cup of coffee before you have to do any of that crap.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Thank you, everyone. Shamla Hamla.
Shamala
Hamala
hamala.
hamala.
Always good talking to you, Jeffy Bear. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.